point statements or beliefs expressed on the following program by the host, guests, or callers are not necessarily the opinions of FantasyXS.com, Media Group Inc. ownership, management, sponsors, or website.
We are ready, baby. Talk a little Dolphins, a little NFL after week one, and we've got just a little bit of drama already after week one. How you doing, Matt? You doing good?
I'm very good. How are you?
I can't. Well, in Dolphin Nation, we cannot complain after that performance on week one. Two and the boys put on an absolute show. You know, last year, you remember Brandon Staley? He muddied the middle of the field. Remember that last year, and this year, all he did was make his work in the middle of the field. And to me, Mike McDaniel, like mother effed everybody and said, "Now I'm not even going to run the ball today. You know what? You think you could take the middle of the field away from me? How about this? I'm going to live on the middle of the field. I'm going to show you can't take the middle of the field away from me." And it was a message game by the coach. He'll never tell you that. He'll never admit it. But why would you abandon the running game and attack the middle of the field only? And I think he didn't want to go to the outside. He didn't want to run because then we all would have said, smart move. He countered. Brandon Staley took away the middle of the field, so he attacked everywhere else. What a smart coach. Bullshit. He said, no. I'm going to attack the middle of the field this time. And then next time around, you're going to say, well, he could do whatever he wants, the middle or the outside or whatever. He wanted to send a message in that game. What do you think about that?
I think there's some truth in that. The NFL is a alpha league where guys look. McDaniel was embarrassed by that game last year. That was a Sunday night football game. That was in front of the whole country. Tua was embarrassed by that game. Like, those guys don't talk like that in front of the media, but if you are in this business, if you know these people for the people that they are, like, that stuff gnaws at them. Okay? So let's get a few things out of the way. Number one, Tua was spectacular. I watched every play of that game. I watched it as it was happening. It was a game I was most interested in the late window. And Tua, time and again, deep down the field, as you mentioned, a lot of the stuff, most of the stuff between the numbers, he was awesome. Tyreek Hill was Tyreek Hill, okay, making play after play after play. Second thing that has to be said, the Chargers are one of the worst coach teams I've ever seen in my life. Like, it really, and that, by the way, is not a denigration of Miami. Miami took it to them all night long.
No, it's actually a consistency coming from you the last couple of years. Yes. Go ahead. Like, this is not nothing new with you. You've been killing Brandon Staley for a while. So go ahead.
The play of that game. Yeah. In fact, before I even, do you know what I'm going to say? Do you know what the play of the game was? In my opinion.
Go ahead. I don't know.
The penalty right before halftime.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, dude, JC.
It's the dumbest play. Like, it's so dumb. And I know people are like, well, JC Jackson, and that's fine. JC Jackson has to know a hell of a lot better, okay? He was coached by Belichick for years, and he's a veteran. How in the world do you make that play? Like, it's a play that even if the receiver, I forget who the receiver he was interfering with, it was Craycraft or somebody else, but it was right at like the 25-yard line. Let him catch it. Who cares? Just tackle him.
The half is over.
And it wasn't even one of those calls where you could be like, well, it was kind of ticky-tack. 3 officials threw a flag at him. Like, the whole field, everybody was like, yeah, you drilled him. And they get the field goal. Look, Miami has a pick in the red zone, a fumble in the red zone, a missed extra point, and they still scored 36 points and won the game. Okay? I mean, which is an incredible credit to the Dolphins, who were spectacular all afternoon on offense. And is just a denigration of the Chargers, who just can't be bothered to stop anybody despite having like 4 All-Pros on that defense. So kudos to Miami. And I thought, look, defensively, yeah, it was a struggle throughout the day. They gave a ton of rushing yards. But I'll say this for the Dolphins. On the drive that they had to stop them, they sent them about 20 yards backwards. I mean, it was just
Well,
Intentional grounding, sack.
can I add something to that? Can I add something to that? I watched the entire game again yesterday because I wanted to watch the offensive line only and the defensive lines, and I wanted to see what was going on and everything. So I'll tell you what I think. Well, one on the offensive side, my God, Kendall Lamb and Austin Jackson. God bless you, dude. You've been through hell and back, and you played a hell of a game on Sunday along with Kendall Lamb. They shut out Boza and Mac, dude. I mean, it was super impressive. But here's the other thing, because I was pissed at Fangio that his defense couldn't stop a nosebleed on the run game. You know what I mean? And it was just one of those things. But then I went back and I looked at the tape, and I didn't get to look at the coach's tape. I looked at the regular game tape that was on TV. He played 2 high safeties the entire time. He baited them to run the entire game. And that's exactly what they did. Now, you're not going to do that to McDaniel. He's going to find a way to loosen shit up and try to bring those safeties in and do something, which is something they didn't do. Right. You know what I mean? But the son of a bitch actually had the 2 high safeties the entire time. I mean, deep safeties. And so then they said, all right, we're going to run the ball the entire time. And then what did he do? At the end of the game, he said, unleash the Kraken. And he sent Phillips and Kohu and Sealer and all these guys, and they made plays at the end. And so I just wonder, was it really that McDaniel and Fangio said, this was the game plan. Let's live with this. We can live with this. We can live with them running, and if you can stop them, great, and whatever, but we can't give up anything deep. And plus, the thing that you and I have talked about, because you and I are on the same page, they don't have a quarterback who is an alpha male, like aggressive Dan Marino, John Elway, Tom Brady, Pat Mahomes. I'm coming after you, motherfucker. You know, those kind of guys. He's not that guy. He's not wired that way. So he's going to be happy with underneath and running and all that. Whereas those other guys that I talked about, they're going to want to sling it, bro. You know what I mean? It's funny because they talk about Tua, and that mother effer slings it, bro. Slings it like all over the place. So to me, there was a specific game plan here. We're not going to run. We're going to attack you in the air. We're not going to give you any deep balls. Go ahead, run, fine. We'll try to do our best, but this is how we're going to keep you in a box. And I think that's what the game plan was.
Yeah, I don't think the game plan was to give up 234 yards on the ground, but I think you're right in the overall sense that they went into that game saying, look, he is not going to kill us throwing the ball deep down the field. And if the Chargers are going to move the ball, they're going to move the ball in drips and drafts. Now, the problem was that the Chargers ran the ball at will, and that's why they scored 34 points, because the Dolphins couldn't get off the field. But we talked last week, and I said about this game, this is the last thing we talked about. I said, I think the Dolphins will win the game if they can protect up front. They gave up 2 quarterback hits in the game, and both of them were to Joseph's day. That was it. Bosa didn't even touch Tua the entire game. I think the only time he even got near him, he got a face masking penalty. And Khalil Mack was completely uninvolved throughout the entire game. And so, look, if you're the Chargers, just in general, you're screwed if you have 2 quarterback hits in the game, because the rest of that defense is not built to hold up. Okay?
That's right.
That is not going to happen. Right. If they get 2 quarterback hits when they play Buffalo and Kansas City this year, I mean, they're giving up 40 points a game, because the rest of that team, the linebackers can't cover anybody. And at this point, J.C. Jackson, maybe he gets healthier. At this point, J.C. Jackson is almost unplayable. He cannot cover people. So
that was way smart on their part too. That guy's coming back from a knee injury.
This just went after him. They relentlessly went after him.
That was a great game plan.
Until it changes, you'd be crazy not to just go after him. I mean, they had to keep taking him off the field at certain times in the game. He couldn't get off the field. So, and then look, they do not have, if Jackson's not playing well, which he's not right now, they don't have good corners. I mean, Asante Samuel Jr. is the only corner they have that you go, okay, that guy's a good player. Everybody else, they just can't cover. So it becomes this game of, if you can block, you're going to shred them. and Tua damn near threw for 500 yards in the game, and the Dolphins don't even have Armstead, and they held up fine. Wasn't a problem. I thought overall, look, I wasn't surprised the Dolphins scored a bunch of points. I was surprised the Chargers ran the ball as effectively as they did, but I'll say this again. The other part of it was with Herbert. Everybody talked this whole offseason about how they got rid of Joe Lombardi. Now they've got Kellen Moore. Now they're going to throw the ball down the field. And I got to tell you, I sat there and watched that game. It looked like the exact same offense it's been. It was I'm going to throw the ball 5 yards a clip and hope somebody can break one in yards after catch. And if Herbert's going to play like that, they're screwed. That team needs chunk plays. It's one thing when you are a team like Kansas City that has a quarterback who is just, look, I'll take that throw, but if you give me 1 inch down the field, it's going down the field. With Herbert, there's the occasional time where that ball can get pushed, and it doesn't get pushed enough, and it's a problem for them. It's very easy. Like if you're fans, it's very easy to just stick 2 high safeties up there and go, he's not going to challenge it. They won't. They will not.
Dude, they didn't even get after you at the end of the game when you need a field goal. The grounding penalty, it's like that's panic move right there, right from the get-go. And then they send the blitz, and you gotta. And it's like they knew the DNA of them that they weren't going to be able to attack them that way. And the funniest, the irony of the entire thing: a midget quarterback with midget receivers is attacking you like the Kraken. You have the giant quarterback with a fucking giraffe in the middle of the field named Parham and 2 other towers on the other side in Allen and Mike Williams, and you're not aggressively attacking even over the top because you got guys that can go up high. So even if they have safeties, you've got all the guys that can climb the ladder, and the people that are attacking you are the Oompa Loompas. I thought that was – I love the irony of that. The short guys are the ones with the Napoleon attitude coming after your ass, and the tall guys are just cowering into a shell, dude. I mean, the big, strong strapper, Justin Herbert. Well, where are you, dude? I mean, show me what you got. And here's the little guy breaking out of the pocket and finding, Tyreek 40 yards downfield with a beautiful throw. I mean,
gorgeous. Tua couldn't have played any better. But it was just, from a Charger standpoint, I just look at that game and go, this is why I have no faith in them. This is why, and that game, by the way, for both sides, that's why I picked the Dolphins to win the division, and I picked the Chargers to miss the playoffs. That's why. Because at the end of the game, the Dolphins were able to execute multiple drives, and they had to. And at the end of the game, look, Sanders misses that extra point, and it's 36-34, and the Chargers have plenty of time. They got $1:45 and 2 timeouts, right? I mean, that is, in today's world, that is an eternity to go 40.
Dude, I'll finish for you. Chargers have Tua. Do they win?
I would have had more faith in it at the end of the game. Let's put it that way. I mean, because I feel like they at least would have tried to push the ball. I mean, and again, unless I got to be fair too. One thing I will say, the 2 backs that were on Herbert in that drive, they didn't block anybody. I mean, he basically got hit the second he hit his back foot. So, fair is fair to Herbert. He had no shot on either one of those plays. To me, it's not like you and I, you're more down on Herbert than I am, but I am critical of him at times more than other people. To me, though, this is more of a Brendan Stanley thing. I think Herbert is overrated by some people. Herbert is a spectacular physical talent, but it does not translate into a ton of wins. Staley has a team that if Mike Tomlin coached it, would win 13 games every year. But because Brendan Staley coaches it, it wins 9 games every year. It is a team that makes easy, dumb mistakes. It is a team that is completely unaware of what is going on around it all the time. How in the world do you get a red zone pick, a red zone fumble recovery, a missed extra point? You then also rush with 239 yards at home and you lose the game. That's impossible. But the last time we saw the Chargers, they had a 27-point lead. They were +5 in the turnover ratio, and they lost that game. So, for me, I look at this and go, the Dolphins are who I thought they were, which is a team, look, they're going to score a lot of points, and they're aggressive. And defensively without Ramsey, it may be a struggle at times, but I think they're going to be able to do enough to win most games. And the Chargers are exactly who I thought they were. The Chargers are going to blow every game, every way possible. This, like when Sanders missed that extra point at the end of the game, most teams, my reaction would have been, oh, that's going to come back to haunt them. I didn't even care. It was like the Chargers aren't going to get down there. Like there's no way this team's even crossing midfield. And they went backwards, and that was the end of the game.
So I grew up with a TV show called Buck Rogers of the 25th century.
Yeah.
And last couple of weeks, I've given Aaron Rodgers the name Calf Rogers of the 21st century, obviously. And I've made fun of all of this. So this is not hindsight, for me at least. I've said, and actually it's coming to fruition, I told Dolphin fans, look out, you guys complain about the line, you might have the best offensive line in the division, okay? And then I told them, hey, I can't wait to watch this experiment because the Jets built one of the worst offensive lines in the NFL, and they put a 40-year-old quarterback behind it. None of this is hindsight. I've been talking about this for the last, and maybe in some of our conversations, we've talked about this. We have. In fact, I think you and I talked about the whole Dwayne Brown thing, that he's like nearly 40. They got him lined up there, and he's been out, and they brought him in at the end. And to me, you watched all 4 downs. He ran for his life. It reminds me of the Colts, dude. A generational quarterback lands on your lap, and the last thing you want to do is protect him. Like, What the fuck? Like, what are you doing? What is wrong with you? And to me, it's the same thing. You brought a 40-year-old quarterback that has a bad calf, injured the other one, can't move like he used to. The first thing you're supposed to do is build a wall of Montezuma in front of him, just like like Tua had on Sunday, that he was kept clean, and they got rid of it quickly too. The other thing, but the bottom line is there was a game plan for that. Rodgers, you're cut blocking, which means you got to get rid of it quickly. Yeah. He doesn't like doing that. I thought Hackett was your guy. I thought, none of this meshed. And to me, I don't laugh about the injury itself. I laugh about the overall plan that you guys thought was actually going to work. That's my problem with it. Hey, you're Jets. I don't care. You could lose all your games, but it was just stupid, dude.
Well, we talked about this all season. They never built up their offensive line. And that play, look, so he dropped back 3 times and was pressured every time he dropped back.
Yep.
And on that last play, as you point out, and you're right, like ironically, it was a cut block. Like he's supposed to throw the ball quick. And he didn't throw the ball quick. And Leonard Floyd gets home, but the cut block wasn't executed because Leonard Floyd never was on the ground. So they miss a cut block, which probably played into why he held the ball, because he's not supposed to be seeing Leonard Floyd in front of him. And then it obviously goes downhill immediately, and he blows his Achilles out. Now, I got to tell you, and I don't mean to take this in a different direction. So going into that game for Sports Illustrated, my assignment was to cover the Bills no matter what happens. Now, of course, Aaron Rodgers ends up pulling his Achilles out, and there's like a fire drill. But my boss was like, "Look, I don't care. Stay on the Bills. We'll handle the Jets." Like, all right, fine, no problem. Okay. But that game was 13-6, Buffalo, in the middle of the third quarter. I swear to you, my column was, the Bills are going to win this game, but everything that you're watching is why they're not going to win in January. Because they're undisciplined. They make way too many mistakes. Allen needs to always be a hero. Then the rest of the game plays out, which he then throws another pick, takes another fumble, right? And they go to overtime. They have a 2nd and 15. They took a penalty. And they run a draw play where the guy goes for like 3 yards, and then it's 3rd and a mile, and they don't get it. The Jets, to me, this is easy to surmise. The Jets are done. Okay, you get all these people like, can they make the playoffs? No, they can't. Their defense is great. Their defense was great last year too, and they have no quarterback. They're not making the playoffs in the AFC. Okay?
Hey, brother, you're talking to Miami here right now.
It's over.
It's Jason Taylor and Zach Thomas and Sam Madison and Pat Surtain and Tim Bowens and Ricky Williams on the other side. It's Jason Taylor, Zach Thomas, all these guys. Lamar Smith on the other side. No quarterbacks. And then years later, it's the year where you have Jay Ajayi and Randy Starks and all those guys on defense and Raja Bell and all that, and a really good defense and a really good running game. But guess what you're missing? You're missing Uno. You're missing that guy. You know what I'm saying? And so we have lived the Jets for years and years and years. You know what I'm saying? You go nowhere.
It's over. I mean, it's over. They can their defense is great, and they're going to run the ball. And what's going to happen is good teams are just going to say that's nice, and they're going to put 8 guys in the box, and they're going to double Wilson and beat because they can. So the Jets, to me, that game. I mean, obviously, the story coming out of it is Rodgers, but the long-term play out of that game is Buffalo. The only way the Bills lose that game, the only way, is if he does what he did in that game. And he just plays YOLO ball for 4 quarters and is throwing the ball into double coverage. Like, those weren't picks that went through guys' hands or that got tipped. Those were balls that just should never be thrown. That should just be either to another receiver or he should have taken off running. And it was emblematic of how they've lost so many other games with Allen over the years. Like, he is a great player. I'm not saying he's not. But at some point, do you never learn? Do you never learn? I mean, that's a game. You're up 13-6. Just sit on the ball. Run the ball. Take some time off and punt it. Who cares? They're not going 80, 90 yards with Zach Wilson. There's no way they're doing that. And yet he gave them chance after chance after chance. They scored 10 points off 2 fourth-quarter turnovers. And I would also point out the coaching staff does them no favors because in that game, and I have the exact figure in my column at SI. And I think they ran like designed runs, not Josh Allen runs. I think they called 15 runs the entire game. You're winning the whole game, and Zach Wilson's on the other side, and you ran the ball 15 times. I mean, it's mind-numbing. What are you doing? And and for anybody who's, well, it's one game. Listen, I'll buy the whole one game thing for like the Bengals. Look, they play like crap. They'll be fine. The Chiefs lost their game to the Lions. They'll be fine. Those teams are going to win their 12, 13 games. They'll be fine. Okay? The Bills, this is reminiscent of every dumb game they've lost over the years. And it goes back to last year against the Vikings. It goes back to last year against the Jets. It goes back to 2 years ago against Urban Meyer. It goes back to that playoff game in Kansas City with 13 seconds. It goes back, even though they won the game, to the Skylar Thompson game. The only way Miami wins that game is the Bills just donating points. And that's what they did. Like, they don't learn. They just simply do not learn. And they're going to go out and they're going to score 40 points on the Raiders this week. And everybody's going to forget about it until January happens. And this happens again. Because it happens all the time with the Bills.
Yeah. And you see, and the one thing you see, like I've seen, is Miami's caught up to them. And they were just injury riddled last year. And now Miami is better than them while they're healthy. And by the way, they have the best quarterback, the best passer in the division now, which is something that they could not claim for decades. Now I think they have the best passer because I trust him more as a passer than Josh Allen. You know, Josh Allen has to do other things to make himself effective. All right. So did Kansas City basically kick the can down to next year with Chris Jones? Or is this Chris Jones' last year with the Kansas City Chiefs? Because it's not like they solved a long-term deal. They just gave him some extra money, make up for the fines, all that kind of stuff, and he's on the field. So how do you view this on the short and long term?
So my understanding from talking to people around it is that they're definitely open to trying to get this done again next year. I would not be surprised at all if they tag him because, in fact, I'd be surprised if they don't tag him. They can do it. And the tag's really big. It's like $32 million, but they can do it. They have like $75 million cap space next year. So they can do it. It's not the end of the world.
Let him walk for nothing.
Right. You can't. You just can't. So I would expect they'll tag him. Look, I know people in my position, it's always supposed to be, you try to just be as like straddle the line as possible. I try not to do that because I feel like that's disingenuous, and I'm going to be as blunt as possible. This is one of the worst holdouts I've ever seen in my life. Like, you gave up $3.5 million, okay, in fines, a workout bonus, and a game check. Now, you have to earn that money back. So he gets $2 million bucks if he plays 50% of the snaps. Like, if he's healthy, okay. He then gets $1 million if he gets 10 sacks and 500 grand additionally if he gets to 15. So if he plays the whole year and has 15 sacks, he now breaks even. Okay. Then if he's a first team All-Pro and they go to the Super Bowl, I think he makes $1 million extra bucks. And if he's a defensive player of the year and they win the Super Bowl, he makes another $2. I mean, look, they're obviously good enough they could go to the Super Bowl, but the odds of him being defensive player of the year are pretty low. So
you just want to miss the offseason? Is that what he wanted? Just to be off?
I really think what happened, he got terrible advice. Like, honestly, if he fired his agents tomorrow, he wouldn't be wrong for doing it. What would happen there, you hold out when you're on a rookie deal, fine. That can be rescinded, and you're not making that much money compared to what you could be making if you're a star player. You're holding out when you're making 19.5 in base? I mean, hold in, my friend. Hold in. Don't give up. Show up and work out and get your 500 grand and let everybody know how annoyed you are that you're not getting paid. And I think the Chiefs really, quite honestly, with the incentives, tried to do him a favor by giving him $2 million that he can make back easily by just playing to get his fines back. But this was a colossal miscalculation. I mean, the reality of it is they were offering him a 2-year extension of $54.5 million fully guaranteed. How is that not better than what he just signed for? I don't understand. I mean, look, you're never going to be in a better position to make more money than he is right this second. And he bypassed that. And now, like, what if he goes out this year and has a good year, but he doesn't have an all-world year? You know, maybe he has 9 sacks and he's a Pro Bowler, and that's great. That's a great year for an interior defensive lineman. But, like, you're not going to make $30 million a year off that at 30 years old. I thought it was a gross miscalculation by his representation. I think there's a chance he absolutely signs again long term, but there's also a chance they tag him and they trade him after this year.
It's crazy stuff. All right. I'll leave you with a very controversial one. Do the Pagulas need to sell the Buffalo Bills after their comments? For those of you that don't know, and you and I know who Jim Trotter is. Jim Trotter is as respected as it gets in our business.
Yes.
As credible as it gets in our business, as good as it gets in our business. I'm not. You do agree with all those things I just
100%,
said?
100%.
He's a Hall of Famer in my eyes. Okay, Jim Trotter is one of those guys that I look up to in this business. And so when he has this quote that he specifically heard himself from the Pagulas, if the black players don't like it here, they should go back to Africa and see how bad it is. And that alleged quote was in 2020, which he also has another quote from Jerry Jones also that is very biased too. So where does this go? Because the owners control the ship, and, you know, we have the whole John Gruden thing. And so where do we go here? Because this has to be owner on owner crime in order for this to work.
Right. Which is why I think in the end, what probably should happen won't happen, because owners usually look out for other owners. I mean, we just saw Dan Snyder on a team for 25 years. Okay. So what I think should happen is Pagula should be suspended by the league until they fully vet all this, which, by the way, according to the lawsuits Jim Trotter filed, or representatives filed on his behalf. According to that lawsuit, Jim Trotter went to his higher-ups while at NFL Network about this comment, and as he put it, was essentially kind of pushed off, pushed aside, blown aside. Oh, yeah, we're going to look into it. So the NFL, at least in practicality, in theory, has known about this for years, and nothing has happened. Now it's come public, okay? Public changes a lot of things. Now, I would think if you're Roger Goodell, if I'm in his seat, I'm thinking about suspending Pagula as I investigate this to the absolute fullest extent that I can. I mean, we do live in a society where you're innocent until proven guilty. And unfortunately for Jim Trotter, like unless he has a audio tape, it's going to be hard to actually prove that. I mean, now, can you get other people who are in that room who corroborate it, right? That's the thing. Because according to Jim Trotter's lawsuit, there were other people in that room that had quite a reaction to it. Right. Can you get 2, 3, 4 of those people to go, yes, I was in the room when he said that? Because if that's the case, then yeah, I think he should be removed from the league. I mean, I'm with you with Jim. Nobody is more well-respected in our industry. Okay, so I believe it. That's not a question. The question is proving the whole thing, right? So then it becomes, can you get 2 or 3 people who go, yep, I was there, and that's what was said? Because if that's the case, he should be removed yesterday as an owner of the team. And the other part of this, real quickly, obviously, like every team in the league, the Bills have a lot of black players. What is their reaction to it? I mean, because that could ratchet up the pressure in a big way. If you get some Bills players who say, "Hey, man, I'm not gonna play until this guy's disciplined," or I'm really upset about this. This needs to be looked into by the league. That changes the picture. So I think that those are a couple things that I'm looking for here as we move forward.
Follow him on Twitter at Matt Verderame. What do you got going on Sports Illustrated headed into week 2, my friend?
So let's see. I have a piece going, it might even be today, about 3 plays that I broke down in the All-22 that you need to look into more. And I'll tell you right now, one of them is a Dolphins defensive play and a good one. So you should check that out. Zach Sieler, pretty good player. Pretty good player, Zach Sieler. So that was one.
The second they couldn't come to an agreement with Wilkins, they signed Sieler because he does what Wilkins does, but for half the price.
Well, the play that I broke down, both of them absolutely destroyed up front. So you're going to want to look at that. So that was one. Number 2, I got quarterback rankings coming out toward the end of the week. Tua makes a nice jump in there as well. How could he not? So you have that. And then I've got a roundtable with the rest of the guys, our picks for the week. And then on Sunday, I react to every single game. In real time. We posted on the site as they're going up. So that was a lot of fun to do. And I'll have my Thursday night column as well, the Eagles and the Vikings.
Dolphins, Patriots. What'd you pick?
Miami.
There you go. All right.
Miami owns them. They beat them every time they play them.
No, not only that, the Tua effect. They're now favored in New England. Like, when was the last time that happened, dude?
Yeah. No, they're the better team.
I didn't have sense in my heart, probably. I probably didn't have an extra 50 pounds on me the last time that happened. It's crazy. Follow him on Twitter at Matt Verderame. Have a great week, my brother. We'll catch up next week.
You too. Take care.
Oh, great. You have a doorbell camera. Now you have a front row seat to your house getting robbed.
They're breaking into my house!
Ooh, there goes the TV. I'm sure it'll turn up at the pawn shop.
No, not the TV!
Just because you can see them, that doesn't mean you can stop them.
With Slogans, you get 24-hour monitoring, a free home security system, and professional installation.
Plus, free doorbell camera, one that'll actually work for you.
Get out of my house!
Get out of the house! Call 1-800-ALARM-ME.
This is the Big O Show. This is the Big O Show.